A good salary can become one of the biggest obstacles to becoming wealthy. Not because it pays too little, but because it pays just enough to stop you building ownership. And that's exactly why millions of intelligent employees retire with respectable incomes, but almost no financial freedom. Every single hour you work as an employee has a hard, invisible cap on what it will ever be worth to you. And almost nobody tells you that ceiling exists until you have spent 20 years bleeding against it. This is the salary trap. The better your salary gets, the less likely you are to notice the ceiling above it. Later in this video, I'm going to show you the exact structural shift that separates people who stay dependent on a salary from people who eventually own the income they live on. But first, let me show you exactly where your ceiling sits and exactly who is quietly collecting everything above it. You're on a video call on a Tuesday afternoon. You are watching your department's quarterly numbers get presented, and there is a massive slide showing that revenue is up 34% this year. You feel a flicker of pride. You had a hand in that. You worked the late nights. You skipped the lunches. The presentation ends. Everyone leaves feeling successful. The business created more value. The potential upside belonged to the owners. Your salary stayed exactly the same. And next Monday, you'll come back and do it again. And you don't even question it because that's just how a job works, right? Here is what nobody stops to examine in that exact quiet moment. The entire structure of corporate employment is built around a simple economic trade, one that caps your upside long before it caps the business's. It takes your infinite, scalable output and caps it at a fixed, pre-negotiated price. As an employee, your compensation was agreed in advance. If the business creates additional value beyond that, the upside largely flows to the owners of the business, not automatically to the people who created it. This isn't philosophy, it's accounting. Let's walk through what this actually costs in real dollars, because the gap is violent. You're making $71,000 as a mid-level manager. You have a comfortable, stable life. The bills are paid. But here is the part of your compensation that HR will never put on a pie chart for you. Let's imagine your work helped generate roughly $340,000 in additional revenue for your division this year. But your total compensation, your salary plus your benefits and payroll taxes, only cost the company approximately $94,000. The exact difference between what your brain generated and what it cost to rend your brain is $246,000. That $250,000 didn't evaporate. Some of that value pays operating costs, some funds future growth, and if anything remains, it belongs to the owners, not the employees who created it. You were paid for your hours at a rate fixed 12 months ago in a polite salary negotiation. The upside generated by those hours was never yours to begin with. You signed it away before you ever typed a single word of that quarter's work. This is not a story about you being underpaid. Your $71,000 might genuinely be a perfectly fair market rate for your exact role. And that is what makes this trap so incredibly lethal. The trap isn't that you are being cheated. The trap is that the employment relationship, by its very design, permanently caps your income at fair market rate, while equity ownership has absolutely no ceiling whatsoever. There are two completely different financial games running in the exact same office building, and almost everyone in the building is blind to the second one. Most people think the real path to wealth is simple. Perform well, get promoted, keep climbing, and eventually the money will reflect your true value. That is an illusion, and it is dangerous because promotions are real, and the climb genuinely does improve your life, right up until you realize you are upgrading your lifestyle inside a container that was built to lock you in. Every employment contract is a trade, your skill and your finite hours exchanged for a fixed price. A raise just moves you further along the exact same track. Yes, it is better, but it never ever converts you into the ownership model. You can be promoted to senior vice president, tripling your salary, and you are still structurally trading your time for a fixed price. The ceiling simply moved up. It didn't disappear. This stays invisible for most of your career because the employee model is genuinely addictive. Every 3% raise feels like proof that the system is working, but it never warns you that you're just climbing a ladder that's bolted to the floor, a ladder specifically designed to top out well below the wealth you are actually creating. Imagine working for 30 years, never getting fired, never missing a promotion, never making a catastrophic financial mistake, and still discovering your salary was never designed to buy financial freedom. It was only designed to rent out your hours. The moment you stop renting out your hours, the income stops too. Imagine waking up tomorrow. Your salary is gone. No redundancy, no warning, just gone. How many days does your financial life continue exactly as normal? The people who escape this trap understand something the rest of the workforce never does. Your salary is supposed to fund your life. It is not supposed to become your wealth-building strategy. Those are two completely different jobs. The first pays your bills. The second buys your freedom. Most employees accidentally ask one tool to do both, and that's exactly why they spend 30 years getting raises while never feeling financially independent.
Think about what happens every January. You get a 3% raise, maybe 5%. You celebrate for a weekend, then inflation quietly absorbs part of it and lifestyle inflation absorbs the rest. 6 months later, you feel exactly the same. You're earning more than ever before, but somehow you don't feel wealthier because salary is designed to solve today's problems. Wealth is built by owning assets that solve tomorrow's. Those are completely different economic engines. Let's imagine two employees. Both are 30 years old, both earn $80,000, both receive identical raises for the next 25 years. Employee A does everything society recommends. Works hard, gets promoted, buys the nicer apartment, upgrades the SUV, celebrates every raise by slightly upgrading life. By age 55, they're making almost $170,000. It looks impressive, but almost every pound of that salary is already spoken for before payday. The mortgage, the vehicles, private school, insurance, lifestyle. Their income doubled, their freedom barely changed. Employee B earns the exact same salary, receives the exact same promotions, but follows one mechanical rule. Every raise, half of it never reaches their lifestyle. It immediately buys ownership. Index funds, business equity, rental cash flow, anything capable of producing future income without additional hours worked. After 25 years, their salary is identical, but their assets now generate thousands every month without asking permission from an employer. Both employees worked equally hard. One built a career, the other built ownership. 25 years later, only one stopped depending on tomorrow's paycheck. One day, your last paycheck will arrive. Every employee receives one eventually. The question isn't whether that day comes. The question is, what keeps paying you after it does? Salary always ends. Ownership doesn't have to. That's why wealthy people chase assets, not because they're obsessed with money, but because they're obsessed with options. The option to leave, the option to negotiate, the option to say no, the option to spend time with their family without asking permission from payroll. Real wealth was never about driving a better car. It was always about needing your employer a little less every single year. So the next time your paycheck gets bigger, don't ask, what can I upgrade? Ask, what can I own? Because the raise itself will never make you rich. What that raise buys just might. Look at your own finances tonight. If your salary stopped tomorrow, how many months could your assets continue paying your bills? One day, your employer will stop paying you. That isn't pessimism, it's retirement. And when that final paycheck arrives, your lifestyle won't depend on what you earned. It will depend entirely on what you own. Because salaries retire. Ownership keeps paying.